My name's Hayat Rachi. I'm the CEO and founder of Neon Moon, feminist lingerie for women with feminist values. And great pictures, you guys. I really appreciated that. My question is, all of you seem to have brands that were built from a community. How is someone like me meant to grow a startup brand from a community on a very shoestring budget? How do I get people to speak about my brand and get involved actively?
So shoestring budget, and you want to get as much publicity as possible, but you don't have the money at the moment.
It's about the community. So the press side of things is separate, but it's more about how do I engage the supporters, how do I get people to speak about it, and returning to the website.
So supporters to speak about it, so be your brand ambassadors as such. Justine, what tips have you got?
Well, and I did it by talking to myself, actually, for quite a long time. I had multiple personas in our forums, and I realised it was working once when my friend rang me up, and she was pregnant, and she said, I've got terrible palpitation. She'd known I'd been pregnant before. Did you have that? And I said, well, I'm only answering if you put it on Mumsnet.
So she's dying.
Yes. So she quickly went on Mumsnet, and I felt a bit guilty, so I quickly hurried on too to answer her. And lo and behold, someone else had answered, so I knew the thing was working. But, I mean, that's slightly frivolous, but actually there's a serious point, which is, you know, it's blood, sweat and tears, that early stuff. There is a thing called Facebook. You have got a brilliant, you know, without knowing your brand, it sounds like you've got a brilliant campaigning element, which does incredibly well in social media. And the other thing I did was I had been a journalist, so I tried to put myself into the mindset of commissioning editors, and I remember writing a diary of a .com startup in the Times magazine 6 months after we launched, which brought us a sort of boost. So you're looking for kind of steps upwards, but I can't pretend it's anything other than hard work without budget. If you've got budget, it's easier.
Do you think that if it's a cliche to say if you've got a tech idea, go to California, go to SF, if you're noticed there, then global dominance is a given. But do you think that cliche is true? You went to SF, you did it. If you launched in London, would you have had the scale that you had?
I don't think it's a slam dunk. None of these businesses that scale very quickly are slam dunks. What exists in Silicon Valley is people who are willing to fund this type of projects and fund them at a level that is still hard to get in the UK. It's starting to change. I think there's a lot more larger rounds for very promising companies and early stage as well. So it's a very different landscape today than 10 years ago when we started. But at the time, raising 20 million was a very big effort in the UK versus quite an easy task when we did it. And we had good numbers to back it up, but it's the type of commitment that VCs were willing to make over there and not willing to make in Europe overall. And that's pretty much the reason, I think, why Silicon Valley companies manage to scale globally much faster. If Uber is able to raise billions of dollars, it's because they're there and they have access to the best monetary resources that are available anywhere in the world.
So there are other pockets, obviously, in the UK now, whether it's Cambridge, in Glasgow or London, which sort of vie after that Silicon Valley tag as well. Do you think it's a different environment now, though? Do you think people can raise money in this country?
For sure, and I think what changed the most is that you don't need to have your entire team in Silicon Valley anymore. They're willing to invest in French companies that have two of their founders or a very small team in Silicon Valley. As long as you show that you're committed to proving your product in the US market, they're willing to take the risk, no matter where the team is. And there's also the realization that doing business in Silicon Valley is very expensive and very competitive. And there's a big advantage to having a team in France, for example, or the UK, or in different places where salaries are lower, competition is lower, and qualifications are actually really good. Like we find great engineers in Argentina for our team, for example. We've hired probably 20 in the last 6 months. They're very great talent in many different places. And once you have established where you want to build your company, I think you can go ahead and go to the Valley and raise money there, or raise it here because you have a lot of VCs.
Ian Nipper has asked, how do you, as Made.com, how do you decide what indeed to sell, which products, and who in the team makes that decision?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. And if you look at the traditional retail industry, usually people make the decisions of what should be selling on retail store. But in our case, it's pretty much pre-filtered by us, but we are launching so many products. We mentioned we're launching 2 new collections a week rather than 2 a year. Our users, in fact, make the choice because whenever a product sells well, they stay on the website, and whenever they don't, we take them out. And when you launch a new product, the definition of launching a new product is that you have no idea. You have some convictions, you have some hopes, but you don't know whether for sure it's going to work or not. So our users get to decide effectively which product gets to sell.
I think what's interesting, when I was diving into your website, you also mentioned that you actually don't make a load of furniture. You wait until the orders have come in, and then on a weekly basis, you think, right, here's our orders from the last 7 days. Is that right? Am I speaking correctly? And then we produce whatever's on the last 7 days.
It was called Made.com initially because everything was made to order.
Yeah.
But that has a flip side, which is you have to wait for 16 weeks. So not a lot of people could wait for 16 weeks. And then down the line of the business, we changed slightly our business model. So we became from a made-to-order business to a just-in-time business.
Okay.
So the difference is that we're still selling products to you without any stock, but we are pre-selling in average of 4 to 5 weeks of lead time to our customers now, rather than 10 to 12 weeks.
I think you need to change your website then. There you go. Get onto that website designer tomorrow. Yep.
And this one jumped out to me with the nearly 1-year-old baby, but John in Leeds at the screening there has asked, does your business still give you sleepless nights?
Sleepless nights. Justine, are you?
Yes, definitely, occasionally. I mean, when I have to come on panels like this.
She's joking, she loves being here.
No, I mean, it does. I mean, I don't. We were actually came under a sort of fairly well publicised hacking attack in the summer, and I mean, literally sleepless night because a full SWAT team turned up at my house with 5 armed policemen and several dogs. So that was quite severe. But generally, yeah, I mean, there are always... I find myself one of these people as you get older, it's probably true that, you wake at 4:30 in the morning and your mind is racing, you can't get back to sleep again. It's not so much that, I'm always in despair. There's so much I want to be doing and getting on with. So
what's keeping you awake at night then, apart from any more SWAT teams coming along? I do remember reading about that, actually.
Yeah.
That made it to all the national newspapers, didn't it? That was a big story.
It did. I mean, that did keep me awake. Well, I think it's just that thing that, that checklist in your head. I've got this, and this to do. So it's not so much just keeping me awake, it's stopping me get back to sleep.
Because we think the internet, I mean, it's been brilliant, hasn't it, for many reasons, but one of the areas, I'm going to be boring now, is cybersecurity, which is a key area. The Information Commissioner can fine companies up to £500,000 if you, willingly breach your data, or if you don't admit that you've had a data breach. So is this something that you take, incredibly serious? Because nobody likes to say, we're 100% secure, just in case the inevitable happens. So how do you go about making sure that we like to be open and transparent, but we're safe and secure as well?
Well, we've handled $5 billion of people's money, and that's a big responsibility. We don't take it lightly. Fraud has been an issue since day one, since we launched our own even payment processing. So we've invested a lot in a dedicated team, both on the risk and fraud side. So trying to detect fake events, for example, that are processing money laundered cards that haven't been reported as stolen yet, but that are stolen. That was the first type of fraud that we got on the site when we launched our payment processing. And then just regular security. And a breach of trust is so detrimental to the brand today that we just can't afford that. So from maybe 2 years after we started, because at the beginning you don't really care. I mean, it's not like you have so many customers and you're not on the radar of the bad guys yet. But as soon as we became on the radar, then we had to hire people who knew what they were doing, who were very strict about encryption, about storage of the encryption keys, about rotating those keys, all the things that you need to do to really prevent the bad guys from coming in, because they will, as soon as you're popular, they will come and they will try to abuse your systems and deface your site and all the different things that they can do. So if you're not protected and not investing in the right place, then you're definitely at risk.